Good morning. Thank you for joining us to another episode of Psycho Uncensored. Hope everyone's having a wonderful Sunday. I've got a very interesting and informative show for you today. Hope you all enjoy. Without further ado, let me welcome to you Dr. Benjamin Clapp.
Thank you. Super excited to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. Do you like that intro? We've been working on it. I mean, I've been up since 6 a.m. and
awesome.
I am a little.
It got me pumped up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, Dr. Benjamin Clapp, it's an honor for real for you to be here. Ever since I decided to do this procedure, I mean, I feel like another man, and I feel like I have a second chance at life. I honestly do.
Yeah.
I know some of you might think it's, BS, but I honestly feel that way. And that's why I asked you if you could be here with us, because I think there's a lot of people, especially my truck driver friends, that need to know this information. It's very accessible. I mean, I don't know why I didn't do it a long time ago.
That's a really common thing that people say that undergo weight loss surgery. One of their big regrets is really they didn't do it sooner. And they think it's maybe not for them, or maybe they're making some choice that's kind of crazy, or that they're taking an easy way out, when in fact it really will help you control your weight and all your medical problems. And people consistently say, gosh, I should have just done this before because I kind of wasted years of my life.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, let's start off by telling us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Well, great. Thank you. My name is Benjamin Clapp. I'm a surgeon in El Paso, Texas. I was raised kind of as an Army brat, and we ended up here in El Paso when I was in high school. I actually was born in San Antonio. But I've been here since then, on and off. I went to school at Coronado High School, and then went to Texas Tech for my undergraduate degree. And I kicked around the Army a little bit, and then I went back and did my medical school at Texas Tech also. And at that time, it was 2 years in Lubbock and then 2 years here in El Paso. So I kind of knew I was coming back here at that point. I did my residency in Arizona in general surgery, which is 5 more years after the 4 years of medical school, after the 4 years of college. And then I did another year of training in Houston, at the University of Texas, for minimally invasive bariatric surgery and robotic surgery. At the time, I was kind of interested in robotics. Subsequently, don't use it that much. And I've been in practice now about 16 years. I've probably done I'm probably around 3,000 or 4,000 of these operations by now. And it's kind of my passion. So it's really what I like doing about surgery. I do general surgery too, but I really love bariatric surgery.
At what age or at what point of your life did you know you wanted to do this?
So, yeah, I was late to medicine. I didn't start medical school, I think, until I was about 28. But, I kind of had some things happen in my life that made me think that it would be a good career path for me. And when I got into surgery, surgery's fun, but it's full of death and destruction. There's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of bad things, and burn and injuries and cancer, and it's kind of it wears you out a little bit. But then I did a rotation in Portland, Oregon, with a bariatric surgeon, and I just fell in love with it. Patients are the best patients in the world. Everybody's happy. I mean, outcomes are great. You actually fix problems instead of just milking it along. And here's another pill, and here's another pill, and maybe we'll give you some more pills when you come back. We actually fix problems and resolve them. And so seeing that and seeing the patients go through that was something that really attracted me to it. And the other thing is as a surgeon, generally, if you're just taking out somebody's gallbladder, you're done. You take it out, you're done. You don't have a relationship with that patient.
Yeah.
Not really. But I like to follow my bariatric patients, and I have ones that have followed with me every year for the last 15, 16 years. It's great to see how their life progresses and have that kind of relationship.
And you do have like some sort of reunions, no? Like where you can see patients from further back,
right?
know?
So we do. I mean, yearly the patients just follow with me just to kind of check on vitamins, make sure everything's okay, and that they're maintaining their weight loss. But we also do things like we used to have a bariatric fashion show where people could show before and after, and it's just quite impressive, and it's open to the public, and people see that change in their life, and it's you see these things on TV and stuff, but these could be your neighbors or your friends that you're seeing this time.
Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about how we get started. I'm sure my viewers are dying to find out how
Sure.
how to get started.
You know, and this is a common problem. You know, when we look at the United States alone, and we're not even the most obese nation anymore. We're not even in the top 3. But when we look at the population of the United States, over half the population of the United States has a body mass index of greater than 31. Now, we use the body mass index, which is your height and your weight, as a sort of baseline marker. And over 30 is considered obese. But I'm more interested in people that have a BMI of greater than 35 or 40, and that really qualifies them for bariatric surgery. So if you think of obesity as a disease, which it really is, people have obesity the way they have diabetes or the way they have high blood pressure. It's a disease. And, you know, haters will tell you that it's just, oh, it's a condition. Oh, just try harder. Oh, you should just try this diet. Haven't you tried this diet? Which is just crazy talk, because my patients have tried more diets than anybody. They're experts at it.
There is no magic pill. I've
Yeah.
been obese most of my life, and you always hear, oh, well, try this, and this pill, this shake, this nutrition, this, I mean.
At some point, that's got to be offensive, because you're just like,
Exactly.
seriously? You know, yeah, right.
I actually get friend requests on Facebook, and then like 2 minutes later, they start selling me their weight loss product.
So you know, so if we think of this disease having a spectrum, I'm kind of the last treatment for it. And people have tried everything. And I often say my patients are weight loss experts, but they're not experts at keeping it off. And that's the kicker, right? So if your body mass index is greater than 35 or 40, and let me put that in layman's terms, if you're about 100 pounds overweight, that probably is going to qualify you for surgery. Now, insurance does cover this in a lot of instances. And so you should check if you do have an insurance policy, especially if you work for a bigger company, that it probably does cover it, and Medicare and Medicaid cover it, TRICARE covers it, the VA does cover it. So check that first, because it might be a benefit for what you're already paying for on a monthly basis. But if not, there is a cash pay price, and we can go into that a little bit later. But what you would do is you would start by seeking out a surgeon. You don't need a referral for this. You can self-refer. Mm-hmm. You just need to find somebody in your area, or call me, and we'll walk you through the system.
Exactly. I mean, the way I found you, and I Googled the best doctors in El Paso and you were one of them. I'm not going to mention the other name, but I went by the reviews.
Oh, that's great.
And I'm happy. I'm blessed that I found you.
Thank
for
you.
real.
No, it was great. I do have a website. It's www.elpasobariatric.com, or you could just Google. You know, the guys that are doing it in town are actually pretty good. I'm not going to say they're not good. Yeah. They're good guys. But go with an expert. And the other thing that you want to look for is you want to look for somebody that's in an accredited bariatric center. Now, the accreditation process is run through the American College of Surgeons, and every 2 years we get well, not investigated, but we get evaluated by an outside doctor that comes in with a team, and they look at everything from our nurses to the hospital to the equipment to my office, and it's just showing that like there's been some sort of external check and balance. So you want to go to an accredited center wherever you are. So say you're listening to this and you're in California, just find an accredited bariatric surgeon. Mm-hmm. You don't want to go fly by night, you know, things like that. You want to go with somebody that does this all the time, that has a system set up.
Yeah. Wow. So let's say myself, I was a candidate. I was, I guess I exceeded the BMI, limits. What's next?
Okay, so at that point, once you've made contact with a surgeon, there's going to be a couple of steps. The insurance thing is a separate thing, and again, if you're going through your insurance, there's going to be a time process that they're going to make you wait, where everybody's going to have to do some basic stuff, but they're going to have a period where maybe you go to see a dietitian for months. Maybe it's as long as 6 months, and that's based on insurance. But let's say you're just going to pay cash for this, or your insurance company is just going to make it easy. Everybody's going to go see, sign up at the bariatric center and register online usually. Everybody's going to see a dietitian at least once, maybe multiple times, depending on insurance requirements. Everybody's going to see a psychologist, just make sure there's no missed eating disorders or anything like that. It's not that we think people are crazy. Well, everybody's crazy, but everybody's crazy in their own way, right? Yeah. But just like me. But you're going to see a psychologist, and there's going to be some classes, and it's an educational process. One of the last steps, or it could be the first step, is to see me. And I always like to see people kind of more than once, so I can get kind of a feel for them. But you got to see the surgeon too. Now, as far as basic testing and stuff to get surgery, it's going to be really easy stuff: blood draws, EKG, chest X-ray, things like that. Now, if somebody's got a real bad untreated sleep apnea, well, we're gonna slow down. We're gonna send them to a pulmonologist. Or if somebody's got a heart issue, maybe we'll send them to a cardiologist. But not everybody's gonna need all of that stuff. So it can go anywhere from about a month if you're paying cash, because just it expedites things, to maybe 3 to 6 months if you're doing it through your insurance.
So having those medical conditions, have you ever turned somebody down because their medical conditions were so bad?
Yeah, so I have some contraindications or things about surgery that, I kind of stick to. And it's not that I don't like saying no to people, and it shouldn't be thought of as a no process, but it's more of a safety process. So if say they're so sick that they're not going to live through a general anesthesia, well, probably not a good idea to operate on them. If somebody's an active smoker and they want a gastric bypass, not really a great idea. It's going to increase the complication rates really high. Now, I don't believe, people will just quit because I ask them to. I don't believe in the tooth fairy, but if I do believe people will get short-term goals. So in that case, I'll say, look, you got to stop for about a month, and then we can do this. So it's very rare to say no. If somebody's got really bad cirrhosis, even that's not a pure no. It's a kind of like a halfway no. Let's see if we can maximize you. I don't want you bleeding to death in the operating room, but if we can safely do it, then we'll do it. But
so it just depends, on the risks.
Yeah.
If they're bad, the risk of something happening
that's true, and risk is a part of surgery. Actually, the funny thing about bariatric surgery though is that it's now become safer than having a baby. It's safer than having the hysterectomy, taking the uterus out. It's safer than taking out the gallbladder in emergencies. It's safer than a hip replacement. So it's a super safe operation. But my whole goal of this though is that the patient actually walks out of the hospital, walks back into my office a week later with no complications. So if we have to slow down for that, if we have to sort of maybe do some extra things to get patients ready, then that's okay. That brings up sort of the question of weight loss before, because there's a lot of myths about that. Like, do I have to lose a lot of weight before surgery? Some programs do have you do that. I've always been of the mind that if you could do that, you wouldn't be coming to me, right? You'd have already lost the weight. However, if you have a body mass index of greater than 60, and that's somebody usually around 450 pounds, 500 pounds, at that point, I do kind of like to see some weight loss because it just makes it a safer operation, less risk of complications. I always tell people, I wear cowboy boots in the operating room, but I ain't a cowboy. I ain't going to do cowboy surgery. And I'm not that dude on TV. He's on TV, my 600-pound life, because of that. I mean, that's his shtick. That's why he's on TV. But my goal is safety and getting people back to their families and back to their lives, without a complication.
And reality, that's just it's just a reality. Speaking of when right now, when you were speaking of walking, what is the purpose of I've had my gallbladder taken out, and I
know where you're going with this.
Yeah. Why do you walk from the where you registered to the operating room?
Yeah,
What's
one of the things that I do that's kind of special in my practice is I make the patient walk back to the operating room. They feel like the condemned person, walking to the gallows. But what it really is that when we look at the number one cause of serious complications in bariatric surgery, not the most common complication, that would be like nausea, which isn't that serious, but the number one cause of serious things that could even lead to people dying, it's actually a blood clot. So we do three things about blood clots before surgery. We put these squeezers on people's calves, kind of compress their legs while they're asleep or while they're laying down. We get them walking right after surgery and before, and we give them a blood thinner called Lovenox, which is a shot in the belly.
It hurts like
it leaves a bruise sometimes. But the thing is that if we know that blood clots are the number one cause of serious complications or death, then that's what we have to start working on. And I always have believed that the body takes care of itself more than the other things we do. So the most important thing to me is ambulation, is walking. Oh, okay. That gets those muscular pumps working. It gets your blood system flowing. It gets everything going. So even from the beginning, it's like, no, walk back to the operating room. And guess what? We're going to walk 4 hours after surgery because that's going to prevent these really bad things from happening.
Exactly. Yeah. That totally got me like.
I talk about that in national meetings sometimes, and it's funny because a lot of people implement it afterwards. Like, well, yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, okay, I'm going to start doing that because there's no reason to put people in. They're not invalids. They don't need to be pushed around in a wheelchair or in a bed.
Exactly. Yeah. So, what's life after surgery? I mean, I'm sure I can say that, but what are the expectations, or how do you? I'd
actually throw that back at you because you live in it. But I mean, the thing is like the patient should go back to life. That's our goal. Yeah. I mean, our goal is to get the patient back to work, and really it kind of depends on the kind of job, but really 7 to 14 days. I mean, if you're going to be outside working and you're in construction or something like that, 2 weeks is probably a little bit better. I do a lot of oil field workers. and we have a steer environment out here in West Texas. It's hot and it's cold and it's dry. And so 2 weeks, I think, is probably a little bit better. If you're working in an office, maybe 7 to 10 days. But the thing is, and you can speak to this, is that it's usually not pain that limits people going back. No. It's like, I'm pretty tired because I'm not getting that many calories.
Yeah. Right? I tried it. I was off work for 2 weeks. And I think one of my major concerns was getting on and off the truck because you make so much effort to get on and get off of. And so I think after our 3rd week of being, off, I tried doing a run, but I just didn't feel good. I felt weak. I couldn't drive. I didn't feel I was safe being on the road. So I took another week, but it was like a month.
Yeah, that's all
that I took. I mean, I'm sure it's different.
No, it's really responsible that you did that because a lot of people would not have wanted to eat that on their income, right? But the thing is, it's like you have to be ready, and it's energy level is your main thing. So what we're going to do is you're going to drop a lot of weight in that first month, and you're only getting about 400 calories the first week a day. My goal is 1,000 to 1,200, but it probably took 3 weeks to get there. It's not an easy thing to do. Now, the thing that makes it very different from a diet afterwards, and we're talking about a sleeve gastrectomy here, but the thing that makes it very different is that for that first year, you undergo what I call a honeymoon period, where if I told you to just do a very low-calorie diet and drop down to 800 calories a day, you could do it for about 2, 3, 4 days, and then your mind starts to get you, your body starts to tell you, oh, my God, this is horrible, and it's really a struggle. But after surgery, your body has a set point, and we reset that set point to a lower level. And so you're not hungry for about the first year. So it sounds funny to be on 400 to 800 calories a day, but actually it's quite tolerable.
It is. I mean, I'm really amazed on how this on how this surgery has worked because I honestly don't feel hungry. I mean, I have my protein shake in the morning, which back then a protein shake, and I'd still be thinking, man, that's not going to be enough. I mean, and I force myself sometimes even to finish my shake, and I'm good.
Right.
But I start feeling a little bit, like, oh, I need to, like, I already know myself. I can go a little bit without eating, but then I start feeling, oh, it's time to eat.
It's time to eat, right.
It's time to eat.
And that's a really important thing. This honeymoon period, this period where you're not really hungry is going to last about a year to year and a half. And it's very important for you to train yourself into these new habits so you don't fall backwards into your old habits. And you can do it. It's quite a transition. You need to be ready for it in surgery. And that's one of the reasons why people have to go through this program. I mean, there is a lot of medical tourism. You could go to Mexico and get this like tomorrow. You pay cash, you get tomorrow. They don't care. But the thing is how are you going to handle things like that, and how are you going to be ready for when that year ends so that you're like, you know what, I've just changed my habits. I'm not going backwards. I'm going to maintain this. And people thought that the sleeve was just a restrictive operation. We take out, what the sleeve gastrectomy is we take out about maybe 90% of the stomach. So it kind of looks like a tube, but we just kind of trim down the stomach. We don't do anything else to the rest of the intestines. But it has very strong hormonal effects, meaning that it changes the hormones that control hunger and that control cravings. Gastric bypass has even a stronger hormonal effect, and that's where we make a very small pouch about the size of a golf ball, and we bypass the old stomach. Now, we hook it back together downstream, and that's been around for about 50 years. It's a great operation, but they're both very metabolic and hormonally active operations. I think that's an important concept. Not to bore people with the science, but the main ones are going to be the gastric sleeve and the gastric bypass. And they're both done laparoscopically through little incisions, kind of like a gallbladder surgery. And they're both about one night in the hospital. Generally, about 95% of people go home in one day.
Yeah, that's what I spent with just one night in the hospital. And man, it's been a good deal. Like I tell my wife, joking, even if I stay at this weight, which I've lost about 72 pounds already, I feel good. I mean, I was to the point where my knees were hurting, my back was hurting. I couldn't drive for long periods of time.
And that's in 3 months, right?
In 3 months, just a little bit more than 3 months, but I feel good. I'm waking up the neighbors at 6 a.m, mowing my lawn. I mean, things that I honestly paid for people to do. I'm doing them on my own. I'm just truly blessed, and I think there's a lot of people out there that are going through what I was going through, and that's the reason you're here.
Yeah, we were talking before the show about the number of the rates of obesity in truck drivers. Yeah, and it is kind of astounding, and you guys know that. And the thing is that obesity could be a career-threatening disease that you have. I mean, if the Department of Transportation tests you and You have an untreated sleep apnea or uncontrolled diabetes, they're going to yank your license. And that's your income, So it's a sort of thing where, there's a lot of myths about bariatric surgery. There's a lot of people, a lot of haters out there like, oh, you took an easy way out. Well, you can tell them there's nothing easy about it, right? But it's not that. It's about your health. It's about seeking treatment. If you had uncontrolled diabetes and somebody said, well, we got to put you on insulin, you wouldn't fight them. You might not like it, but you're like, okay, we got to do what we got to do. This is the same sort of thing. And I would encourage people to think of this as a disease that needs to be treated. And there are good treatments for it.
And don't forget that this is a tool. It's not a 100%. You can gain the weight back. But I'm doing things that looking at calories. Planning my meals. Not that I didn't do that in the past, but there were just bigger portions.
It's a great point. It is a tool, and I kind of that's my soapbox issue. And people probably get sick of me talking about it in the office, but it's a tool. And if you don't know how to use it, if you leave it in the tool shed, if you're not efficient with it, it ain't gonna work for you long term. Everybody loses weight in the first year. It's kind of guaranteed. We don't like that word, but it's guaranteed. But what's going to happen 5 years from now if you don't know how to use this, or if you don't pay attention, if you start, like drinking beer daily, it's not, and your life's not over. It's not like you can't have things the rest of your life. But if you step outside of the bounds of what you really know you shouldn't do, you're going to gain weight. And so it's important to be a calorie counter. But I'm a guidelines kind of person because everybody's different. So if you're wondering about that, like, well, I'm going to have to give up everything I love. First of all, it's not really like that. Second of all, just obey some basic guidelines. You want to go to about 1,000, 1,200 calories a day. You want to avoid sugars, 5 to 7 grams of sugar or less in a serving. Yogurts are a good example. If you're thinking, well, I'm going to eat something healthy, it's going to be a yogurt. Well, depending on the yogurt, it could be 40 grams of sugar, whereas a Snickers bar has 23 grams. So you doubled it with a yogurt and thinking you got something healthy. So be an aware eater, an aware consumer. You've got to, fried or greasy foods, probably just in general, and no white foods. And it sounds kind of funny, but, no white bread, pan dulce, flour tortillas, things like donuts. Think about this. The white things, the cakes, you break them open, they're white, they're processed flour. They're not going to be great for you. Yeah. And then the hard
Unfortunately,
the hard one for a lot of people is no liquid calories. And what I mean by that is you could use something as simple as apple juice. Again, 20 grams of sugar in concentrated apple juice, no sugar added. And there's nothing wrong with apple juice. That's a lot of sugar, though. You could have an apple. You don't need the apple juice. Beer and alcohol is the same thing.
Those are just there just for looks, okay? Don't think we have shots after that show or something.
No, the thing is like your life's not over. Can you have a glass of tequila every once in a while? It's 120 calories. Sure, you can. You do it every night. Guess what? You're going to gain weight. So it's one of those sorts of things. It's like it's not off the menu. It's not that it's off limits forever. And I may be a little different with bariatric surgeons about that, but to me, it's like you got to live your life, but you can't make bad decisions every day. You could be like, well, it's my birthday. I'm going to Las Vegas. I'm going to have a couple. Okay, sure.
Yeah, you know what? I've seen that in the oil field. I know a lot of people over there that make that process, and you see them in a couple of years losing a lot of weight. Yeah. And then after the third year, you start seeing them again gaining the weight because of that, because they start getting
a Miller Lite doesn't sound bad, right? It's like 96 calories or something like that. But it's not horrible. But let's do some math. If you take 3,500 calories is a pound of fat generally. So now that doesn't work on a day-to-day or a proposition, calorie for calorie basis, right? So it's not like if you go out and eat 3,500 calories, you're going to gain a pound. But if you do it over time, consistently, it will. So if we take that 100 calories in that Miller Lite, which you're not an alcoholic, you're drinking a beer a day, so what? It's just one beer. It's a Miller Lite. But the thing is if you do that in 30 days, you've essentially almost gained a pound of fat just from drinking one beer a day. And it's that low of numbers. If you have a bag of Cheetos on Monday, it's only 280 calories. That's not that bad. It's only once in a week. Then on Wednesday, you have a soda. You're like, I kind of miss it. I'm going to have a soda. It's 240 calories. Then on that weekend, you're watching the Cowboys play or something like that, and you drink a Miller Lite. How bad could that be? You have two?
Cowboys.
Who do you like?
49ers.
The 49ers?
Yeah,
oh, that's right. So you watch them play, and you get 2 beers. then when you add that up, even though it was only these individual things in a week, it's an eighth of a pound of fat. You ain't going to notice that. But in a month, it's a half a pound. You probably aren't going to notice that. But in a year, it's 6 pounds. And I'm going to notice that when you come back. And I'm going to be like, hey, what happened? Oh, I fluctuate. Oh, okay, maybe you do. But in another year, it's 12 pounds. In another year, it's 18 pounds. Another year, it's 24 pounds. So this is a lifelong commitment, a lifelong job. So to talk about your friends in the oil fields, they got to pay attention. And it's super hard to pay that kind of attention the rest of your life. It's very hard.
It is, especially the industry. I know, unfortunately, I don't have the self-control, or used to have that self-control, but it's the the fast food. That's all we do is eat, sleep, drive. Eat, sleep, drive.
Yeah, you're on the road. Yeah.
And sometimes it's what's the easy way out? Oh, let me get a foot long, or let me get the.
Yeah, so, in a situation like yours, well, the way to do that is, one, you just got to power through it. You just got to plan and power through it. Now, you can go to most restaurants, even fast food restaurants. Like, you could go to a Subway and you could get, the cold cuts, maybe not the bread, but there's something you could get there. Even at McDonald's, there's things that would be less bad than other things that wouldn't be bad, but mainly it's going to be planning in your job. Like, okay, yeah, I've got a plan. I'm going to meal prep. I'm going to take this with me. But, you could get something.
I got some myth and truth questions for you.
I like that. That's nice.
Let's go with the first one. Bariatric surgery is extremely dangerous. Myth or truth?
Yeah, I would say that's a myth. Again, I kind of talked about those numbers a little bit earlier, but there's death rates for everything, including gallbladder surgery, including an appendectomy. Somebody gets a bad appendix and a burst. It can be pretty dangerous, actually. So, if you want to put a number to it, it's about 1 every 4,000 operations. And again, the number one cause is that blood clot. So I like to make that real to people by talking about the blood clot, And again, these are sort of one-time risks. I mean, you get surgery and, a couple days later, nothing happened. You're done, right? It's like flying in an airplane. The airplane landed, you're fine, right? So it's not that dangerous. And then the other thing is that you have to compare that and balance in your life, like what is dangerous in your life? Is it your diabetes? Is it your sleep apnea? Is it your, high cholesterol? It's causing all these plaques to build up in your heart and you're going to have a heart attack. So what's more dangerous? And really, whenever you do that analysis, bariatric surgery is less dangerous than being the way most of my patients are already. Where do you broadcast this? On your Facebook or something?
YouTube, Psycho Uncensored.
Yeah, send it to me.
Yeah.
I have a YouTube channel too.
Oh, yeah, I told you, but I saw some of your interviews, but they were like real quick.
Yeah, they're on TV. But the other thing that I have on there is a lot of surgical videos. I'm also an assistant professor at Texas Tech, where I train residents from both Texas Tech, El Paso, and I train residents from William Beaumont Army Medical Center. So, and you'll see medical students too. So a lot of my stuff is videos that are very technical, for the residents and the students to kind of see before an operation.
All right, let's go with myth and truth. Question number 2. Bariatric surgery is the easy way out, and I think we touched on that too.
That's a myth. I mean, I even hear that from other doctors. Like, well, can't you just try a little harder? We kind of talked about that. It's crazy. Look, what's the definition of insanity? Yeah. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? That's the definition of insanity. It's not an easy way out. It's an effective treatment, the most effective treatment for obesity and diabetes. And it's not just surgeons that say that. I mean, if you talk to the American Diabetic Association, if you talk to the American College of Cardiologists, they're all saying the same thing. Like, yeah, in this selected population, people that qualify, it's the best way to take care of this.
It's right now when you mentioned that on being a truck driver, I've really found this procedure work out perfect for me. I mean, with the meals, I don't have to worry about taking large quantities. I don't have to worry about, I just pre-plan small. And when I deliver, when I get to my consignee, it's usually 20, 30, 40 minutes. I walk around the facility. That's my exercise for the day.
Yeah, that's great.
And I'm just truly blessed. I wish I could have done it a long time ago.
That's great. And, and the exercise that you brought up is a great point. I've found that also over the years, my patients are often not, they don't have a culture of exercise maybe, or maybe it's their job, or maybe they just never really exercised. I mean, I get a lot of guys that were athletes in high school, but then they keep eating the way that an athlete eats and they gain weight. But for a lot of people, especially females, exercise is not a thing in their life. It's just not part of it. So I don't expect people to go out and run a marathon. I don't expect them to go do CrossFit or one of these crazy things. What I want is them to walk. I want them to get active. I want them to do their steps and start there, and that's probably good enough for most people. So it's not like you're going to have to change that part of your life either. It's just like, you go to Walmart, park farther away. At lunch, you're a teacher, maybe walk around the playground a couple of times. I mean, 15 minutes. That's what I want.
And when you're so heavy, like in my situation, you just don't have I don't know. You just want to be
and your knees,
sitting down, laying down.
It hurts
because it hurts. It actually hurts to be active. I mean, It's a. I don't want to say it's a miracle, but okay. Question number 3, myth or truth? VSG will get rid of the hunger hormone.
Yeah, so the vertical sleeve gastrectomy does have metabolic effects, and we touched on that too. So that's actually a truth. It will kind of do that. Now, look, one thing that I think about sometimes, especially with cash pay patients, I worry sometimes that they're like, well, look, I pay a lot of money for this, so it should work 100%. It's like, well, it does, and it does for the first year, but it doesn't excuse you from having to work for the rest of your life at it. It's not an easy way out. It's a tool, and you got to use it all the time. So that's kind of a truth. It will, but that's why I use the term honeymoon, and I haven't really heard other people use that. But the thing is it's a honeymoon because just like in real life, when you get married, right? It's great at first. You're like, oh, this is awesome. We're living together. I just wake up and we have sex, and this and that. And then it's like, kids
20 years can take a toll of you.
Yeah, and all that comes by, right? Yeah. So you're like, so it's still great, but it can kind of end. So that's why I want people to pay attention that first year. It's like, it does get rid of it, but you better be ready for when life starts again,
Right now, when you bring that up, I mean, even our relationship has gotten way better.
That's great.
It's
awesome.
I'm really.
I don't know if you're referring to, but I did have a guy tell me, like, every time he has sex with his wife, he thinks of me, and I'm like, okay, that's just weird. He's like, yeah, no, I couldn't before, and now I can. I'm like, well,
I wasn't talking about that.
I'm like, I guess I'm there somewhere. I mean, that's kind of weird. He's like, yeah, thanks. I just thought that was funny. Maybe that was inappropriate. Huh?
No, actually, my next question was, does the surgery make your pee-pee longer? No, just kidding. Just kidding.
It has that effect.
Oh, okay. So there you go. It makes it longer. Can the sleeve stretch?
Okay, that's a great question. That's more of a complex one. It's a myth and truth kind of. So naturally, your body will start to kind of like not stretch, but kind of try to reaccommodate. But like I have people say, well, what if I drink sodas? Do the bubbles make it stretch? Well, that's not going to happen. But over time, it can accommodate and can get a little bit bigger. But every time I've dealt with weight regain, which is about 10 to 15% of people, I think it's very important to say that this is not, again, it's not an easy way out. It's not a quick fix. It's a 10 to 15% chance of gaining weight again. Those people, every time when I really take a detailed diet history, and people are very honest with me, they'll tell me what they're eating. And it's like, it's that bag of Cheetos that you're eating every day, or it's the fact that you're eating chips and queso again, or it's the fact that you're drinking, a couple beers a day. So it's not that it's stretched, it's that that caloric intake increased and they started to gain weight again like that. So I'd say it's kind of a truth, but kind of a myth, but it's a truth, and pay attention to it and make sure that you're still using this tool, because it's not that it's going to stretch, it's that, but if you're eating Takis, flaming hot Takis every day, you're probably going to gain weight again.
Yeah. Okay, and the last one.
Well, no, and I'm going to go back to what you were laughing about. Testosterone levels actually do increase. They'll double or triple after weight loss surgery. The thing that happens with fat is that fat was thought of as a long time as a hormonally inactive substance, and people get embarrassed about it and this and that. They're afraid to ask me about sex and afraid to ask me about alcohol because they think I'm going to feel something. I don't know. The thing is that when you have a lot of fat, the cells are not hormonally inactive. Fat, actually, we're learning more and more about it, and it turns out that it aromatizes sex hormones. So in English, that just means that it changes like testosterone to an androgen, and it changes estrogen to an androgen. So it makes both males and females kind of go to this middle spot where they lose their female characteristics, lose their male characteristics. And because fat cells will do that to this. So as people lose weight, their testosterone levels will go up, their estrogen levels will go up. Women will become very fertile, 80% increase in fertility, and men become more sexually active.
No wonder I feel like a bull.
Yeah, there you go. Strong like bull. But there's an actual physiologic reason for that. And I think it's important to think about that. We don't, especially with men, like women they talk about everything, but men don't talk about that. And it's like, you know what? You're going to get some action. It'll come back because you're going to start getting your testosterone levels coming. That's an important part of life.
Yeah, I honestly don't care about. I talk about everything. I talk about how I had a. What is it called? What's that? The prostate exam at a young age. I don't know why they even did it, but he's a doctor. He knew why. So but I honestly don't care about it. Anyways, number 6, does gastric sleeve shorten your life? And I actually
That's
Googled all these.
That's a strange myth. That's a myth. That's a
Yeah.
myth? Oh, that's crazy. Okay, so no, if you look at gastric sleeve or even a gastric bypass, it lengthens your life. So it fixes medical problems. Get your weight under control. It gives you back your life essentially. All those things we've been talking about, but actually statistically lengthens your life. So we're the first generation in the United States where we're going to live less than our parents, right? For all of history, for 240 years or whatever, we've increased our life expectancy. Now, this generation, we've gone backwards. And a lot of people think it's the disease of obesity that's causing this. And so what you can say, for every 1 point of body mass index over 35, you take a year off your life. If a teen is entering adulthood with a BMI of greater than 40, like graduating from high school, they're going to live 14 years less than their peers that are graduating from high school with them. So that's a completely weird myth that I've never even heard that one. But
maybe it shortens your life because you're just more active and you do more stupid things.
Well, maybe you get in a parachuting accident. I don't know. But no, it extends your life. That's an interesting one. I've actually never heard that.
Actually, I Googled them.
And people will look at, no, I believe you did, but people will say that about the bypass. And it's like, well, what about this vitamin deficiencies I could get? It's like, okay, well, what about your diabetes and your sleep apnea and your high blood pressure? There's a balance in life. And everything that we do, whether we talk about it or not, or consciously think about this, is we make risk-benefit analysis daily. You're driving down the street, you're making a risk-benefit analysis. Like, can I make that red light before, it turns or whatever? And surgery has to be like that. So when the patient realizes that surgery is going to be safer for them than their current existing state, then that's when they make the decision. They have to be ready for it. They have to be ready for it in their heart and their head. And the average patient thinks about this for 3 years before they come and see me. But you got to be ready for it.
I felt I was prepared for it. Sadly, I told my wife, I got to the point where, you know what, I got to do something now because I don't feel like I'm going to live for another year. Yeah. I mean, I would get I don't know.
I mean, you want to see your kids and grow up, your grandkids.
Exactly, my grandkids, everybody, But I honestly felt like, that's it. Either I do something now. Yeah. And I got to go the drastic way because I can't do no more, do the high protein, low carb. I mean, I'm not hating on those. I mean, there's many people that are successful with those type of diets, but I guess I don't have it in my genes.
They're actually not. That's a myth. Can you be successful on a diet? You really can't. If people have studied this, technically, with statistics and everything, and only about 5% of people can lose a significant amount of weight and keep it off. It's like your body has this set point. And say you're 300 pounds. Your body now thinks it's 300 pounds. And you can diet and exercise. You can be successful in the short term. And I meet patients that constantly amaze me. I lost 80 pounds. I lost 100 pounds. Okay, well, what happened? Because you're talking to me. It's the same thing. They're human. Our bodies are built to hold on to this energy, and it has a set point. So we have to do something like surgery to break that set point. So I think the myth there would be that you can lose weight with diet and exercise. The biggest losers, the TV show, 10 seasons, they 95% of them gained their weight back. That got the interest of these very smart scientists at the National Institutes of Health, and they actually got this big study funded, and they put them in a residential area so they could watch them and control their food intake, right? Like, what's going on? Were they just eating too much? And it turns out that they were gaining weight again, and this one gentleman was gaining weight he was at 1,200 calories a day, and he's gaining weight because his body has that set point. They didn't break that set point with surgery, and so he's heading back up. And this guy's not cheating. He's in a residential area, and these scientists are like, wow, scratching their heads like, that's crazy. He's at 1,200 calories a day. We're watching this guy. And that's when we started to learn a lot about the hormones, and that's when we started to learn a lot about these pathways in between your brain and your gut, which we have not figured out 100%, but we're working on it. And it's fascinating. That was in the Journal of Obesity. If anybody really wants to fact check me, it's the Journal of Obesity. It's a great study because you're looking at this going, wow, this dude's he demonstrated success. He lost 250 pounds, and yet he gained it back. Yet he's not eating. Well, not really. So it's fascinating. So I think that's a myth buster right there.
What's one of your the patients that you can remember? What's the most they've lost? That you can maybe
I had this one patient. He was funny. He was 580 pounds, and he came to me, and I was like, well, gosh, that's kind of big. He could barely walk. And I'm like, I'm kind of worried about you in the operating room. We've got to lose a little weight. So he exceeded my expectations. He's lost 100 pounds. So we did him at 480, and then he lost another 300 pounds, and he's like 180 now. And he's maintained. Wow. But the guy's to me, he's like an inspiration. Even to me, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this guy is serious about it. But he was the same thing. He was just like, I'm going to do something or I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And he made that decision. It's like, I used to smoke, right, when I was in the Army. And anybody that's ever quit smoking, you're not going to quit until you're ready for it. You could try Chantix, you can do the gum, you can do this, you can do that. It doesn't matter. Until you're ready in your heart, you're not going to quit. And that's how this guy was. He was like, or like you. He was just like, I'm going to die. I've got to do this. And he never looked back. Never looked back. He's maintained his weight loss.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Clapp, we won't take any more of your time. I mean, I know it's a Sunday, but unfortunately, this is the only day I have to.
No, that's great. Thanks for having me. Let me just, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So we didn't talk about the price, and I kind of would like to talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, I was going to keep it on the down low.
No, it's okay. I mean, because I think it's important. Like, you even reflected this to me. You were like, oh, my gosh, that's not that much. And I was like.
Honestly, it isn't. I mean, us as truck drivers. Again, here I go with the truck driver.
Well, so the one thing about truck drivers are kind of like me, because most of you guys work for yourselves, right?
Yeah.
And you contract yourself, right?
Yeah.
You're like a subcontractor. So that's me. I'm in private practice. I'm by myself. And so you worry about money, and you worry about like your health care, and am I paying this and all that. So gastric bypass is, $16,500, and it includes everything. It includes the hospital stay, my fee, the assistant's fee, the anesthesiologist fee. It includes the labs before surgery and a year of follow-up. And the gastric sleeve is $11,500. And I'll talk to patients, and they're like, oh, I thought it was $60,000. I'm like, no, it's not even nowhere near that. I mean, that's not chump change. I mean, people usually don't have that kind of pocket change in their pocket, but it's not out of reach.
And you save money. You save money on meals. Yeah. Me as a truck driver. You save money on meals. You save money on clothes. Because I buy my clothes at DXL, and a pair of jeans is $60. Yeah. And now I'm starting to get jeans, where everybody shops.
Plus, you can work better.
You can work. I mean, it pays for itself. I mean, I'm truly amazed.
Yeah, I was always surprised when people would come in and say, "Well, I thought it was $30,000." Like, no, it's not that much.
I mean, yeah, it's very accessible. I mean, you could get a loan for it, or if you don't have insurance or Medicare or Medicaid.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed being here. This is great.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see it.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll probably have this video up Tuesday maybe.
Oh, cool. Send me a link. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll send you all that. So just for give us your maybe your social media.
Yeah.
Your phone numbers, or where can people reach you?
Okay, so my office phone number is 915-351-6020, and my website is www.elpasobariatric.com. You can find me on Facebook. I have a business Facebook, and I think I have an Instagram. My kids do more Instagram than I do.
Oh, really?
But I do have a person that does that, like a company. I'm not a big.
Yeah.
I do a lot of YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel. It's El Paso. Actually it's just Benjamin Clapp, MD. So I do that stuff. I do a lot of like social media YouTube stuff, but it's more, a lot of the stuff I do is more technical for like training. I do a lot of research. I write a lot of papers. Go to a lot of national meetings and stuff. So you'll see some of my national videos if you're interested. Some people like to eat the sausage and not know how it's made. Some people like to know how it's made. So, sometimes they're pretty graphic.
Like to eat it.
Pretty graphic videos, like showing the stomach and then getting stapled and everything.
Yeah. Well, alrighty, Mr. Dr. Clapp. Again, thank you for being here. Hopefully it'll help. A lot of viewers. They got their questions answered. Don't forget to leave a comment or any questions. Just drop them down below on the comments.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clapp.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.